All right. Welcome back, everybody. We have our new podcast episode today. I have a special guest, Jessica Lee from Washington Township High School, and she's going to be our guest on Inside Look, South Jersey Girls Basketball. So we're so glad to have you. Hello, Jess. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. So just want to get right into our interview. So I'll ask you some basic questions and we'll move on from there. So I know that you're a rising senior and you're going to Washington Township High School, which is, I really respect the program and the coach. So I'm really excited to be speaking with you today. So can you tell me about your family?
Well, I live with my mom, my dad, my older sister, my older brother, and my dog Zeus.
Okay.
Um, my sister graduated from Rutgers and is working now, and then my brother is going into his sophomore year at LaSalle, and then both my parents went to LaSalle too.
Ooh, that's pretty awesome. LaSalle's a great school. So did you always live in Washington Township? Why don't you tell us what it's like living in Washington Township?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. It's pretty big, so it's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of people to meet and stuff like that.
So as far as schools, how many middle schools are there?
We have 3 middle schools, and then we had I think 5 or 6 elementary schools.
So then basically what happens is they funnel into the middle schools and then they funnel into high school. So are there
Right.
kids in high school that you never met before because they went to different middle schools and grade schools?
Yeah, there's a lot of kids that I never met before. um because it's all on it's the whole town is split up. So all the people that's on the other half of the town I just never met before.
Wow. So I guess it's cool because, when you get to the high school level, you have a new opportunity to make some new friends and meet some new people. And, it's just crazy to think about your town is so big and schools are so split up that you don't see a lot of these kids growing up unless you're playing, sports together or doing the same activities.
Right.
What kind of activities do you do besides basketball? So what are your hobbies?
I like painting, going to the beach and going to the pool and stuff like that.
Okay, so what kind of things do you paint?
Um, I don't really do anything in particular. If someone's birthday is coming up or something, I'll ask them what they would want, and I'll just paint it.
Okay, what's the last thing that you painted?
I painted hummingbirds or something for my grandma.
Oh, that sounds really nice. So you said you like going to the beach and hanging at the pool. So what beach do you go to? What's your favorite beach to go hang out in the sun?
We usually go to Wildwood most of the time, but sometimes we'll go to um Bridge Team.
Okay, that's awesome. So did you play any other sports growing up?
My first sport I played was softball, but then I stopped because I thought it was pretty boring. And then my parents signed me up for soccer, and I actually ended up liking that. So I played that until my 8th grade. And then, but halfway between soccer, they started me playing track so I could get better with sprints and stuff. And then I stopped that after 8th grade too.
Okay. So what do you remember about your early basketball experience? What do you remember the most?
I remember when I was younger, I think it was 5th grade, and my dad had me play for my older brother's AAU summer team. And then I just played that for a couple years with them until I was ready to go to high school.
So what was your middle school experience like? Did you play basketball in middle school?
Not I just played AAU. I never really played for the town for middle school.
Okay, that's cool. So what do you enjoy the most about the game of basketball?
I just really like how not one person is the main thing. Everyone basically has to be put together in order to contribute to the win.
Yeah, it's a team sport. Everybody's got to work together. I mean, there are some kids that kind of play into, a role of, being effective on the court and being, the centerpiece. But everybody's got to do their part: defense, offense, everything. So,
Yeah.
what position do you play?
I play point guard and shooting guard.
So, what do you prefer the most?
I'd prefer point guard because you're kind of a floor general and you get to see everything and it's easier to score.
That's great. So, if you could choose any word to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
I think I'd say passionate because no matter what, I'll keep trying at it or I'll stay to whatever. It doesn't have to be basketball, it could be anything else, and I'll just if I really like it, then I'll just keep to it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great that you found something that you really really love and enjoy, and at starting at age 3 and you're still playing. That's amazing. So let's go on a little bit more. Who are your basketball role models and why?
I'd say my biggest role model would be my dad because he was obviously the first person to teach me the game of basketball, and he was really good when he was growing up. I remember when we were younger, he would always show us films on him playing, and then he still will like go out back and shoot with me and work on stuff to this day.
So what's it like having your dad as your coach?
It's pretty cool, but it's like kind of nerve wracking at the same time because he he obviously wants me to be the best that I can, but it's like hard sometimes.
Yeah, it is hard, because I think I've, had the same experience with my daughter, and I think sometimes when you tell them something, they take it, it's easy for a child or a daughter to take it personally, and when a dad is being a coach, it's hard to decipher their role if they're being a dad or a coach at that moment, and it's really hard to separate the two. But if you can separate the two and you can work at it, I mean, it's something that's beneficial because I know that your parents really they care about the kids so much. They want to see them achieve success and to be successful. So I just think that's fantastic. So what do you guys do when you actually work out? Like, do you have a particular routine that you do, or do you just go shoot? Do you have free throws? Do you have a particular routine, or what do you do?
Some days we'll just go out and run, and then other days we'll work on dribbling first, and then work our way up to like different drills, and then at the end we'll try to get in like 500 shots.
All right, I got to ask you a question. Do you ever play 1-on-1 with your dad?
All the time.
So what's his go-to move? Like, what does he try to do? Like, to try to fake you out or try to score baskets on you? Does he try to use his size against you and go to the rim?
Yeah, he always just tries to back me down because he's so much bigger than me.
So I guess you can attribute some of your toughness to your dad, in your game, because I've watched some of your highlights, and I mean you've got a real nice game inside and outside,
Thank you.
which is perfect. Yeah, this is great. Um, so let's go to like high school. So let's talk about your freshman year. What were your expectations and goals like going into high school? So were you nervous? Were you scared? Were you not sure? I mean, talk about it a little bit if you don't mind.
Freshman year, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew like a few people that were going to be there, but I didn't really know. So I was just you obviously had to learn a bunch of the play styles and like more of the basics and stuff, I guess. And then sophomore year, I kind of had to put all of the stuff that I just learned the past year to work. And then, but I also got to like look at the older girls and kind of piggyback back off of what they did. And then this past season, since I was a junior, I should probably already know what I'm supposed to be doing. So it was kind of more pressure. And then I was a starter, so I
Yeah,
had more people looking up to me.
that's fantastic. So when you start, what do you play, point guard or you play shooting guard for your high school?
I play shooting guard.
Okay. So that's why I guess on your highlights, I'm watching all these outside 3-pointers. I mean, that's the advantage of being a shooting guard because you are a pretty good shooter. So you're able to move to the open spot, and hit that key basket. So, I mean, that's fantastic. But being able to play both positions is a really, really good, skill to have. So that's fantastic. So let's talk about some of your like achievements and accomplishments in basketball in school, if you don't mind talking about that.
My sophomore year, we went down to Florida to the KSA tournament. We won that. This past season, I made the second team all conference, and then for academics, I was inducted into National Honor Society.
And I'm assuming you're on the honor roll as well right now?
Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. So how important is it for you as a team to focus on your grades? Is there like a big emphasis among the players? Because obviously you want to be academically eligible. And then number two, you want to try and position yourself as you're going into college, to have good grades to make you a more attractive, player.
Right. Like we have people on our coaching staff that keep track of our grades and like will tell us like, you got to pick this up in the classroom more so you can play better and like you'll have a better chance to go into college.
That's fantastic. That's really great. So we're going to move on a little bit. So we're going to talk about your season really, and we're going to talk about you individually. So really going to ask you to think about, your strengths. So what were your strengths this season? Like, what kind of role did you play on the team? What do you do really well? What did you do to help your team win?
I think I'm a good 3-point shooter. I like to block shots and I lock down on defense, but I pretty much just do whatever Coach Natale asks me to do. Like if she asks me to score, I'll try to go and score. If she wants me to push the ball up the court, I'll do that.
All right, so I have to ask you, okay? So you're in a tie game, or you're down by 2 points. All right, the coach, is really pushing the pace. You want to try and get that win. The ball is going to come to you at some point. So do you have a particular shot that you like, or a go-to move, or a spot on the court that if you take that shot or you do that move, you're going to score a basket?
Um, I know I think my sweet spot would probably be like towards the wing or something like that, or the elbow, that kind of
All
spot.
right. So if that's your sweet spot, so do you practice that? You say you put up 500 shots. Your goal is to do 500 shots a day. So when you're going through your 500 shots, your progression, do you include those spots when you shoot?
Yeah, I always go back and forth. Like I'll try new spots and then I'll go back to my sweet spot.
That's fantastic. That's really great. So, it sounds like you had a really, good, strong year. Watch your highlights. Fantastic offense and defense. So going both ways. But what were your weaknesses? So, if you were talking to a coach right now and they asked you these questions and said, "Hey, Jess, I want to, I know what you can do well because I've seen it on film. What do you think are your weaknesses that you can work on for your game in the future?"
I feel like I could be more aggressive offensively because I know a lot of coaches that coached me before or like spectators, they've told me like I need to be more aggressive on offense. So maybe I should try doing that better.
Okay, so when you talk about being more aggressive on offense, do you mean taking more shots, or do you mean driving to the basket more?
Um, Both, I guess. Whatever's like not working for me, I'll try to do the other thing.
That's great. So, what are some personal goals that you want to work on this off season? Because I know you've had a lot of time, and we're going to get that into a little bit. We've had a lot of time to work on our game. So, what are some things that you want to try and work on?
I just want to try to do anything to get me an athletic scholarship. I would like to beat Cherokee, and
Okay.
I want to go get close to making a South Jersey finals.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. So I told you we would talk about that Cherokee thing. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, which is fantastic. So kind of makes me smile because we were talking a little bit before, we did this podcast and just trying to get to know you a little bit. And I thought that was pretty interesting that that's one of your goals. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So what are you
Okay.
doing, currently to work on improving your skills?
Just the running, the dribbling, the shooting, just training 3 days a week.
That's fantastic. So, are there courts around you that are open, or do you have a court in your backyard, or?
I have a court in my backyard, and then we go to this one place for AAU.
That's fantastic. So, we're going to talk about high school now. What is it like playing at Washington Township? What do you enjoy about playing there? What do tell us about your coach? Talk about the team atmosphere.
It's a lot of fun at Township because we get wins and then we have fun doing it at the same time. And then off the court, we always hang out. Like, I know a lot of not hang out as much, but we always are. We're kind of like a family. Like, we'll do pasta parties and like I don't know, stuff like that. And then Coach Natale, she's a great mentor and she's someone that I love looking up to because she went through the same stuff as the rest of us did, so she kind of knows the ropes.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I really admire her as a coach. I thought, and I went back and forth with her via email, and I told her, I said, she did a really nice job coaching the team this year. I mean, when we talk about Cherokee later, I mean, there was when we talk about the playoffs, I mean, I thought that she took the team to where they needed to be, and gave you guys a chance to win the game, which is phenomenal, and that's all you can ask. And it wasn't for a lack of effort because you guys were awesome, just a great team. And I thought it was pretty cool that when we had beat you in the playoffs, you guys came out to the game against Shawnee and we're kind of there on the sidelines and cheering everybody on, which is fantastic. And I really, really respect that. I mean, that's what South Jersey basketball is all about. And that's what I love to see more, is like a community, everybody cheering each other on. I mean, on the court, you're adversaries, but after that, I mean, you're just young athletes that all have the same goal. You want to play and you enjoy it, which is fantastic. So I love your team and I love your coaches, man. They're just fantastic.
Yeah.
So what do you say is your most memorable basketball moment for this high school season?
Definitely the game against Cherokee when we were at home and we lost at the buzzer beater, because I remember the next practice coming in, we were all like kind of mad and we were like trying to work harder just because we didn't want it to lose like that ever again. And I remember we were all like talking to each other and we were like, wow, we're kind of feel bad for the next team that has to play us because we're just going to go take all of our anger out on them.
Wow. Yeah, I want to talk about this a little bit more. So I think we talked about this before the podcast that, my daughter Gabby was hurt. She got hurt earlier in the season, like midway in the season, and she was out for this game. And I was actually working. So I'm one of the dads who's always like looking on Twitter, texting other parents because I want to know like what's happening, And, I'm getting some updates, but not really that many. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Cherokee's down. And then, we come back and I had to watch it on video, but I want you to kind of describe, what happened that game. So it was like, I think Cherokee was down by 5 points at a certain point, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And then I remember, if I remember correctly, Katie Katie Fricker from Cherokee was on the line. And I remember that she was supposed to make the first basket, because we talked about this with Kennedy. Actually, the plan was make the first basket, miss the second, get the rebound, put it back up.
Okay.
So she makes the first basket, she makes the second basket, which is like, and I think her heart like sunk, and everybody was like, oh no, what do we do? And then the play goes from there, and basically, why don't you describe what happened? So the ball's coming in. I mean, you're up by a couple points. I mean, what's going through your mind? Like, what are you thinking, when this is all happening?
I was kind of excited already because like I thought we had it in the bag, but then like I remember them getting the ball back, and then someone from your team shot a 3, and we were all just like standing there waiting to see if it went in, but then bounced off. And then I think Kennedy tapped it in at the last second and made it.
Yeah, I have to say that watching that replay, it was like, a perfect storm. It was something that was almost like impossible. It was like almost like a miracle win for us and a heartbreaking loss for
Right.
Washington Township. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, like you said, Avery shot a 3-pointer. I mean, I think it bounced and went out. And then that last second touch, I mean, she touched the ball. I think the buzzer went off and the ball went into the net. And then that was it. The game was over. It was like, wow. I mean, in a matter of seconds, it just happened. And it was crazy. How did you guys feel like after the game? Because, I mean, there's 2 things that happen. One team celebrates and one team is left being disappointed. Like, how did it feel? I know it's hard to talk about, but I think it's important because, you're a high school student and you're going to be dealing with this your whole life, where you're expecting something to happen and it just doesn't go your way. How did you guys feel?
Our hearts pretty much sank because I felt bad for the seniors because I don't think we won against Cherokee like in any of our careers, so we really wanted to beat them, and it's kind of like, wow, like we just lost that one chance that we could have had to beat them.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, let's talk about the playoffs if you don't mind.
Okay.
So so that was actually like I think mid-season where you played Cherokee. Now, do you feel that because you talked about you felt bad for the next team that you were going to play against? Do you feel that game kind of helped you to focus your energy to finish out the season strong and to prepare for the playoffs?
It definitely pushed us way more to work harder because we didn't want to lose like that ever again, because we just remembered how bad we felt after that game. So we just kept putting in work, and we knew that like obviously you guys would keep working harder too because that was a close game, so you probably didn't want that to happen again. So we knew we both had to put in work.
All right, good. So I'm looking here at your schedule, and it looks like after the Cherokee game was on January 30th. You went on a nice run. You played some tough teams, but looks like you got the win versus Lenape the next game. Tough game against Paul VI, and then to round out the season, you had 6 wins in a row going into the playoffs. So let's talk about the first opening round game against Hamilton. Can you tell us about that game?
That was my first time actually really playing in the playoffs, and we played against Hamilton, and it was a home game, so the energy was pretty high. The whole gym was packed, and we were up the whole time, I'm pretty sure, but they still gave a good fight.
That's great. So was there a point during the game that maybe you weren't sure if you're going to win, or when did you know that you actually were going to win the game, or how did you know?
I feel like halftime we started really pulling onto the win, so I kind of knew then.
That's fantastic. So the next team you played was Williamstown, and Williamstown is a very, very strong team. Was that a home game as well?
That was actually at their place, and it was also pretty hyped up because like we have kind of a little rivalry, so everybody was there, and I remember it going back and forth too, but we ended up pulling it at the end.
Yeah. So for the listeners out there, Williamstown and Washington Township are basically next door neighbors, right? The towns are right next to each other.
Yeah.
So I would assume during your whole time growing up, you play against people and schools from Williamstown all the time, right?
Yeah, we always see them.
Wow, that's great. So you win that game, and then now we're going to take it to the Cherokee game. So the Cherokee game is the semifinals for the South Jersey Group 4 championship. So we're going to talk about that game if you don't mind, and we'll go from there. So the game was hosted at Cherokee. Washington Township comes off a nice win off of Williamstown. What was your team thinking going into that game?
We really wanted to win this time because the heartbreaking loss, and we never beat them before. This is actually our last chance of actually beating you.
So,
yeah.
So talk about the game itself. Do you remember? We'll talk about what you remember. Let's talk about the first half. I remember it being like back and forth pretty much.
Yeah, it was pretty much back and forth. Like one team would go up a couple of points, then go back to tie, then the other team would go back. So it was pretty much back and forth the whole time. And then towards the end, I'm pretty sure I fouled out. And then I just had to sit on the side the whole time, and we ended up losing a little bit at the close game.
Yeah, I remember. So if we go back to the first half, I think Cherokee was up, and I want to say it was like 9 points, and I could be wrong, something like that. And then there was also like a discrepancy because something happened with the foul shot, and they made the kids come back for this foul shot. Remember, I don't know if the half had ended, something happened. Cherokee got fouled. They went to the line, but they didn't do it. Something happened, so they brought all the players back and they shot these foul shots. So then they go into halftime, and I believe they're up by 9 points. So now you're down by 9 points at halftime in the locker room. What is the team thinking at that point?
We were kind of still confused on what just happened, but we still had to stay focused and try to come through the win because we knew that, like, we obviously can't get that time back, so we had to just keep going.
Okay, so you come out of the locker room, and I would have to say you guys come out hot. I think at that point you went on like a 9-0 or 11-0 run. How did it feel like gaining momentum and just taking control of the game at that point?
I honestly thought we were gonna keep going and winning like that because it's kind of hard to like stop a moving train, but I don't know what happened. I think you guys just kept going, coming back at us too.
Yeah, I think we talked it before, and I said that if the deficit wasn't so wide, like if it was a 2-point game going into half, I think that Washington Township at the end has a chance to win that game.
Right.
I think because you made that big run, but you only tied the score. Cherokee was still in a good enough position where they could, get the momentum back, take control, slow the game down, do whatever you need to do, and pull out the win. But I'll tell you what, that was a fantastic effort by your team and by your coach, which was amazing. I mean, that game was a great game. And I'll tell you what, your fans were very, very enthusiastic. They were like, the place was crowded. It was a really awesome atmosphere. So to be in that environment was just amazing. Let's go on a little bit and just keep going here. So let's see here. Let me scroll down a little bit. We talked about the playoffs, so we're going to talk about college. So have you just thought about what you want to study when you go to college?
I was thinking about criminal justice because I'm pretty interested in criminology.
Okay, so what makes you interested in that?
I always watch Criminal Minds and stuff like that on TV, and I'm able to figure out all the stuff before they actually figure out on the show. So I feel like I would be good in it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty interesting. So you might actually, try to think about minoring in psychology as well. I think you'd enjoy that too. So I know you want to play in college. What are you looking for in a college? Okay, so here you are. You're upcoming or rising senior. You're obviously looking at places. I'm sure you've taken some visits. You've been on the internet researching. You've talked to family, friends, and see who's gone to schools that you're checking out. But what are you looking for in a college?
I think I just want a place where I can get a well-rounded experience overall for the whole college. And then for basketball, I want to feel like a family as well.
Okay. So do you have any thoughts if you want to stay local, if you want to go far away, or if you really haven't really thought about that?
I want to stay more local so my family can come watch me play.
Yeah, that's the advantage of being close. Your family can come, they can cheer you on. You can go home, and grab, some stuff if you want to, or just visit your family during, any time you like. When you're farther, it's really hard because then you don't have your family there. And if you're a big family person, which I know you are, it's nice to have your family be able to support you. So, what I want to do is I want to ask you a question, and we're getting to the tail end of the interview. So, my question to you is, all right, I want you to think about the young ladies that are listening. So, grade school, middle school, maybe underclassmen that are listening to this podcast today, and they want to play in high school and they want to play in college. What kind of advice would you give to them? All right, what kind of words of encouragement would you give to them? To help them along the way. What do you think?
I think I would just tell them don't let up on anything, whether it's basketball or anything else, because there's always going to be someone that's in the same position as you, and they might be working harder at that moment, and it'll end up taking advantage over you. So you may feel like you're the best at whatever you're doing right now, and then you might try to relax, but the other people are still working to pass you. So don't take things for granted because it's basically like a race to the finish line.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, you're almost there. I know that you lost some time with, all this COVID-19, where, the spring season was gone, schools were closed. Everybody's been, locked down in their houses. And now with, the NCAA, shutting things down for a while, like the whole AAU, season in the summertime, which is normally a big recruiting time and exposure time, is kind of like in jeopardy now. So I think it's so important, like you said, to just keep on just moving forward and to be aggressive and work towards what you want, which is really, really sound advice, which is awesome. And I think you're doing that yourself. You've been a fantastic person to talk to, Jess. And I really, I can't wait to see you play next year and see what you can do in your senior year. And I can't wait to, play you guys again. And I hope that this Cherokee game versus Washington Township next year is a battle, and everybody has fun and really has a great experience. So I just want to say thank you so much. You're welcome. Take care.
You too.
Bye.